Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Daniel. Today we're beginning Daniel chapter 11, in which we see the main content of Daniel's fourth vision. Now, I've already seen in previous days that Daniel's fourth vision is contained in chapters 10 through 12. Chapter 10 told us how Daniel received the vision and how after 21 days an angel came to him to help him understand the vision. And now as we get into chapter 11, he gives us the content of that vision. So let's begin to read at verse 2, and we'll read the first few verses to get us started. Now then, I tell you the truth. 3 more kings will arise in Persia, and then a 4th king, who will be far richer than all the others. When he has gained power by his wealth, he will stir up everyone against the kingdom of Greece. Then a mighty king will arise, who will rule with great power and will do as he pleases. After he has arisen, his empire will be broken up and parceled out toward the 4 winds of heaven. It will not go to his descendants, nor will it have the same power that he exercised, because his empire will be uprooted and given to others. Now, what is he referring to here about Persia and Greece and being parceled out to the 4 winds? Well, there's something we've seen in one of his earlier visions. You remember in chapter 7, in Daniel's first vision, he saw 4 great empires that would arise, as he saw them portrayed as great beasts. They were the Babylonian Empire, number 1. Second, the Persian Empire. Third, the Greek Empire. And 4th, the Roman Empire. Those were the 4 empires that would come on world history. And then Daniel saw that the kingdom of God would arise, the eternal kingdom of God, when the Son of Man came. That was in the vision of chapter 7. Now, in this vision in chapter 11, he sees an emphasis on the 2nd and the 3rd kingdoms of chapter 7, the Persian kingdom and the Greek kingdom. Now, notice he says, there are going to be a few more kings in Persia, and then there'll be one far richer than all the others. He has seen the end of the Persian Empire. The last king was fabulously wealthy, seemed invulnerable, but then suddenly another king arose who destroyed him. That is Alexander the Great, who wiped away the Persians and established the Greek Empire. We saw that in the earlier vision. But after Alexander dies, after the mighty king is gone, you recall we saw this earlier, the Greek Empire is broken into 4 parts, 4 different sections. And so Alexander's vast empire only lasted a few years, and after he died, 4 of his generals divided up his kingdom among themselves. None of them were as powerful as Alexander, but they each had smaller empires. Notice it says it did not go to Alexander's descendants. It's not like it went to his children or anything like that. It went to his generals. So, in this vision, at least in the first part, Daniel is seeing how the Persian Empire dies. He is seeing how the Greek Empire under Alexander rises and how it is then divided into 4 parts. Then the rest of the vision of chapter 11 deals with what happens in 2 of those parts, which he refers to as the south and the north. Let's read a few more verses, verses 5 and following. Now, the king of the south will become strong, but one of his commanders will become even stronger than he and will rule his own kingdom with great power. After some years, they will become allies. Then the daughter of the king of the south will go to the king of the north to make an alliance, but she will not retain her power, and he and his power will not last. In those days she will be betrayed, together with her royal escort, and her father, and the one who supported her. One from her own family line will arise to take her place. He will attack the forces of the king of the north and will enter his fortress. He will fight against them and be victorious. As you read through all of chapter 11, it talks about the king of the south and the king of the north and their wars against one another. Now, who is this? Who is the king of the south? Who is the king of the north? And what are all these wars? You know, remember I told you that Alexander's empire was divided into 4 parts. The rest of this vision is only concerned with 2 of the parts. One of the parts was in the land of Syria, and it was ruled over by a general by the name of Seleucus, and he founded what came to be called the Seleucid dynasty. It lasted for a little over 2 centuries. Another of the parts was in Egypt. The general who ruled there was named Ptolemy, and he established a dynasty that was called the dynasty of the Ptolemies. His descendants ruled for a little over 2 centuries. Now these two empires, the one in Syria and the one in Egypt, fought against each other. They became rivals. And why it's in the biblical record is because what lies right between Syria and Egypt is, of course, the Promised Land, the land of Palestine, the land of Israel. And so Israel was often caught in between these two kingdoms. So when you read chapter 11, it talks about the king of the south. It's talking about Egypt, because that's to the south of Israel. When it talks about the king of the north, it's talking about Syria, because that's to the north of Israel. So this vision has to do with the wars that would occur for the next 2 centuries between Syria and Egypt. Syria being the king of the north, Egypt being the king of the south. And they constantly fought with each other. Sometimes the Syrians would prevail, sometimes the Egyptians would prevail, but Israel was always caught in between them. Sometimes Israel would be under Syrian domination. The Seleucids would rule over them. Sometimes they would be under Egyptian domination. The Ptolemies would rule over them. But Daniel saw in his vision there would be this constant fighting between them. So I know as you read through chapter 11, it's easy to get confused with all these wars and kings and the south and the north. Just keep in mind, it's all about Egypt, which is the king of the south. It's all about Syria, which is the king of the north, and their wars with each other, with Israel being in between them. Now, there is one more part of the vision we want to look at, and that has to do with the little horn again. But we'll look at that tomorrow. So I hope you join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the book of Daniel.